Hello, and welcome to the Radical Life podcast. I'm Marina Patrice Vare. My pronouns are they, them, and MP, and we're recording for you today on the unceded land of the Lenni Lenape peoples. Today, we're going to be speaking with our Meditate module leader. He may look familiar to you from episode 1. Manjot, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, Satnam. I'm Manjot Singh Khalsa. My pronouns are he, him. And this is where you want me to share a little bit about myself and the work.
I would love that, yes. Thank you.
I've been a wellness entrepreneur for about 25 years. My primary focus is assisting individuals in transforming themselves and their lives. And the primary ways that I am focused on doing that at present is related to some business ventures. One of those is called Radikal Healing, with 2 locations in US and 1 in Europe. It's a group practice with psychotherapy, other sacred healing modalities. We are a team of 13, and we serve clients both in person and virtually via telehealth. Additionally, working on this project, because in addition to being the Meditate module leader, I'm also the co-creator with you. A couple other places where this work is focused for me is Radikal Yoga, which is a yoga and meditation studio that's opening on the island of Gotland, which
next
is
month, right?
Yes, next month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So that's on the island of Gotland. And lastly, Radical Consulting, in which the focus is working with organizations that are in the wellness industry and assisting them on their path of ethics and integrity. So some of my background or education, certification related to the work that I do. I'm a master's level psychotherapist and a advanced certified shamanic practitioner and a Kundalini Yoga and meditation teacher.
Nice. Thank you. Would you share with us a little bit about what identities and communities are important to you?
Sure. I actually made a little list, so let me just reference that so I'm remembering to bring up what feels important. My social location includes, but is not limited, so I'm doing some highlights here. Being a member of Sikh Dharma, being involved in the Kundalini Yoga community, being a parent in general, and then more specifically a parent of 3 brown children, having a binational existence between US and Sweden, being a business owner, being middle class economically and what that comes with it by way of class values, having the privilege of being educated, being a person of lighter skin, having U.S. citizenship, English speaking, able-bodied, neurotypical, having stable mental health, someone who has shifting body size, and a homeowner. So those are the things that I'll highlight for now.
Thanks for that. I really appreciate your attention to that. I feel like it's important. Anytime we can model, like sort of naming where we're coming from,
Yeah.
it really, I think, helps people get a better sense of our perspective.
Yeah, and I'll also add that social location, specifically related to the Meditate module, is very related to my religious and dharmic life. Because yoga, meditation are central practices on those paths. And so I just wanted to share that as well.
Oh, that's great. It's a great bridge for us as well. Would you maybe tell us a little bit more specifically about how your experience as a Kundalini Yoga teacher impacts your meditation practice?
Yes. So Kundalini Yoga is known as the yoga of awareness. And the practices, which include yogic postures, meditations, chanting mantras, and pranayama, breath work, are all centered around greater awareness of ourselves, this state of mind we're experiencing, the physical structure and framework of the body, and then tapping into and connecting with the larger universal awareness. So silent awareness meditation, sitting in silence, that's not specific to Kundalini practice. That plenty of practices and unnamed practices, relate to that. And that is my primary daily go-to, that I'm always prioritizing spending some period of time in that space. As some relationship between the Kundalini Yoga, so as Kundalini Yoga teachers, we do commit to engaging in a daily personal spiritual practice. What that is specific to each individual. So for me, that does include meditation. Also, as a Sikh, a follower of Sikh Dharma, the sound current. So the sound current as accessed by chanting mantra, or, one of the other ways that I share sound current in the module is through gong bath meditation. So that sound current. Also, a class that I teach, a meditation class I teach, at the studio. We just referenced, we'll be teaching, I guess, because we'll be teaching. It's on the schedule. It hasn't happened yet, but I've done it in the past at our other centers in US, is sound through crystal healing bowls. So the sacred sound current and connecting meditatively with that are important in my personal practice and are part of the Kundalini Yoga and meditation tradition. Another piece that I just kind of want to tangentially go to is related to, and maybe you were going to get to this, but I'll just pause it here. So in Sikhi, we believe in the oneness of humanity, the universality of all. And so for me, partially related to my own personal life narrative, which, is complex, as many folks is, but speaking for me, so it's important for me because of my own lived experience, but also in being a Sikh. So it's really important for me that my offerings are accessible and open to all. Some communities that I am specifically focused on with the work that I'm bringing to the world is individuals who have experienced trauma, LGBTQIA plus individuals, and BIPOC, Black, Indigenous people of color. Yeah.
That makes sense to me. And I'm just going to pull out two things that I heard and sort of pull them together, which is the awareness, right, in Kundalini Yoga, and then the connection to all in the Sikh Dharma. And it sounds like they've had a really complementary sort of baseline philosophies that have come together for you in a deep way. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I really appreciate you sharing a little bit about both of those. And I'm wondering maybe for our listeners who are less familiar with Sikh Dharma, would you tell us a little bit about the core beliefs and practices?
Sure. Sikh, like Sikh, S-I-K-H, loosely translates to seeker of truth and or student on the path. Okay? So Sikh Dharma is a spiritual path for individuals who are focused on connecting to, cultivating and continuing a relationship with the divine truth within themselves, within ourselves. As Sikhs, we strive to recognize the divine light in all of creation, yes, in humanity, but beyond that, in all of creation. And we seek to be of service to others. A lot of, when people are like, well, what is that? Yeah. Like from India, the Golden Temple, 10,000 people are fed a day. That's usually people like, oh, you're those, the ones that give food to everybody.
Got it.
And so that is what, that's what's it, the belief is, the actions are based on those beliefs. And a lot of individuals, that's what they know, seeks for doing. So that is important as a central lived practice, a belief in action. As I referenced, we do believe in the oneness of God and all humanity. We believe in equality, no castes, no differentiation between gender or any other lived experience or identity. So we have a central belief in equality of all. That's what our first Guru, Guru Nanak, taught and lived. And Shabd Guru is what I was referring to before with the sound current, right, as meditation. So that sacred sound current, that universal sound, is kind of the wisdom keeper of connection with spirit. So for instance, my children, the two younger ones, have Sikh names. And my 7-year-old is Akalkar, my 3-year-old is Kadamkar. And, people are usually interested, like, oh, what does the name mean?
Yeah, sure.
And I'm like, well, it's actually not exactly what the name means, because it's what is the vibration of the sound current, even, Manjot Singh.
Right.
So, I can say, so yes, someone asked me this 2 days ago, I think. Yeah. Oh, Manjot, what's that? And, I said, through the meditative mind, one connects with the divine. which is good
Yeah,
good for the modulator.
Yeah,
right?
right?
And Akal, Akal, actually in Sikhi is what we chant. I was chanting it actually in the lift on the way over here. Because someone that I know in spiritual community, father, is in the process of transitioning from life into death, likely today. And so we chant Akal for the liberation of the soul. So my daughter's name, the sound current, the vibration of the sound means liberation of the soul. Kadam, which we'll talk more about later. I know it's on our agenda. But Kadam, grace of God. Okay. So, yes, the names, while I'm on the topic of names, we believe spiritually that the more that we hear our names, it assists us in rising to our destiny.
I love that. Fulfilling your Dharma by having every time your name is said.
Yeah.
I love this distinction between what does the name mean and how does the name sound, and how the sound of the name brings you closer into to living the meaning of the name. Thank you for sharing that. That really is rich.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit with that one for a little bit.
Yeah.
Tell me, would you share a memory perhaps that you have related to your meditation journey?
Yeah. So my wife and I had been in India in 2011, and while there in the ashrams and participating in Kundalini Yoga events, I had been receiving messages there more and more in meditation and communication with God of living more as a Sikh in my day-to-day life. And I had returned back to US. I was having some ego things come up, like, if my head is, I think my biggest thing was, if my head is covered basically 24/7, how's that going to affect my clients, my psychotherapy clients, and new clients, and judgment that they have about those in religious traditions, particularly in the US, particularly, I'm typically read as a follower of Islam. People know more about Muslims than Sikhs, at least where I'm situated, was situated in the US, in the Philadelphia suburbs. And so at our healing center, my wife and I were leading a silent meditation retreat, a day of silence. So we were going into the next silent practice. I was leading, not much to lead. I'm sitting there in silence, meditating as holding the space, participants.
Facilitating.
Yes. Yeah. And in that meditative experience, in my visualization, I began to see the 10 Sikh Gurus surrounding me, and just their presence, just their wisdom, their light, their support. And all of my insecurity and fear and ego about these what ifs really dissipated. And I was able to just be in that open space of awareness, that knowing, away from the fluctuations of my own mind. And And then, actually, the evening after that retreat ended, I was, it was my first, I think it was my first day back seeing live clients.
Yeah.
And I just, proceeded with, having my head covered. And, it's been 11 years since. And, everything's been fine.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting sort of awareness, right? That there is the depth of what's calling to you, right? And then the concern, right, about how other people are perceiving you. And I think what I heard there, right, is that like you just showed up as your full self and no one really changed their perception of you, right? So yes, strangers perhaps have a assumption set about you that the people who know you don't have, right? But this, I think there's a grace in just walking into spaces where you've already been and showing up as your full self.
Right. Showing up in authenticity in my life has always just been the best path to take. Yeah.
I appreciate that. So you've spoken to us a little bit about, your Kundalini Yoga practice, which preceded your your conversion, would that be the right word?
Yeah.
To the Sikh religion. And then where does meditation come in? Are you, do you start meditating when you become a Kundalini yogi, or did you have, like a long history of the practice that then brought you to yoga?
Yeah. I meditated pre-Kundalini Yoga. In Kundalini Yoga, as participants will see in Class 3, because Class 3 in my module is specifically Kundalini Yoga meditations. So Kundalini Yoga meditations are pretty typically disciplined by way of a certain period of time, potential intended benefits, specific pranayama or breathing pattern, specific mudra, so specific placement of hands or arms or, something. Drishti or eye focus, sometimes paired with chanting mantra, sometimes not. So very specific, as is the yoga practice or our Kriyas, which is, asanas, physical postures done in a particular sequence. So it's very sequential, the meditation and the yoga. Pre-Kundalini Yoga, and I was a student in Kundalini Yoga, but other forms of yoga prior to being called to teach Kundalini and go for training for that. So my meditation practice was there and present, varied. As a shamanic practitioner, I also do something routinely called a shamanic journey, which is not specifically a meditation, but I'll often describe it to individuals as meditation-like, because it is a meditative space. So that's... I hope that's answering that inquiry.
It does. I'm curious sort of at what point in your life, right, meditation became an anchoring practice.
Yeah. Who knows when that was? I think, just what's coming to mind for me as we sit here in sort of Southwest Philadelphia. I'm thinking when I lived in West Philly in a second floor apartment and would go out to the rooftop there. This was in grad school. So a million years ago. That I was 21, I'm 53, so whatever that math is. I was specifically exploring various religious traditions that included meditation and visualization as key components. I have been very prayerful since childhood. I would not have called that meditative, but perhaps that's because I didn't know that word, right? Like
that makes sense.
My 3-year-old, probably since 2, knows the word and says the word meditation. So yes, probably even in childhood without like conceptual awareness.
That makes sense to me. I'm having a memory of my own. And when you're naming your children being able to say meditate, right, I'm thinking about what a tremendous gift that really is for us to be able to be in practice with our children. I think I was in middle school the first time my mom bought me a book. I think it was called The Centering Book. And we worked through some of it together. And then I remember I have a very vivid memory right now of laying on my mom's bed in her room when I must have been probably a freshman in high school, like closing our eyes and laying next to each other and visualizing colors and having the other person perceive that color. And just, working with the way that one person's energy can shift the other. I had forgotten how far back that went into my life until you were just sharing that. So
fun to bring that
forth. Thanks for bringing that back to me.
And perhaps you're headed here, but the kind of a little further along the like Kundalini Yoga into Sikhism, that weaving of the path. So I, post India again, because that was a very hallmark experience, as I shared. I continued to be a student of Kundalini Yoga more intensely. And I was at an event with my primary Kundalini Yoga teacher, Mahan Rishi Singh Khalsa, who is one of our module leaders on this project for Cleanse. And went up to speak with him after that workshop. Hugged him, thanked him for class. And, he looked at me very intensely in the eyes, as he does. And he said, when will you be taking the Kundalini Yoga teacher training? I was like, I'm not the one. I said, my wife is a Vinyasa flow yoga teacher. She has been talking about, potentially becoming a Kundalini yoga teacher as well. So she's the one. I was like, I'm doing this, and plus, no. And, well, that planted the seed, or was a communication from the divine. Because, lo and behold, I then, I don't remember the exact period of time, but shortish enough, my wife and I were both applying for the training course. And I did go into that course being clear that by the end of the program, I say likely, it was more than likely. I knew, I had a knowing that I would be converting to Sikhi. Kundalini yoga teachers, you don't have to be any religion, any specific belief practice, and but the teachings, the mantras are based on Sikhi. So I knew after spending a year of my life on a daily basis intensely steeped in the spiritual practices, and already that I was living as a Sikh for a few years prior to that time, that, then I would be at a place to fully convert ceremonially. It's called receiving Amrit. I usually say to people it's kind of like a baptism, because most people are familiar with that terminology.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I knew that would be happening at the end of that year, and that is what unfolded.
And I heard you mention your wife Anasara there. I didn't know. Did she do your Kundalini Yoga? Did you do that together?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was not aware of that.
Yes.
That's very cool. Yeah.
Yes. And in fact, my now 7-year-old was in utero during the entire process.
Yeah.
So she actually, my 7-year-old went through Kundalini Yoga teacher training before she was born.
So I think that's a great bridge. You shared a story with me about a co-creation that came to you in meditation, and I wonder if you'd like to share that with our audience.
Oh yeah, I'll talk about the other kid. What was the year? Did I note the year when I was thinking? Oh yeah, okay, end of 2017. Okay. Yeah, because it was the end of 2017. For health reasons, I went into an extended water fast process. And during that time, I was deep in rest, deep in meditation, had taken off of work for 30 days to be in my healing process. And I was asking God and Guru, how can I greater serve thee? And the Sikh holy book, which is called the Sikh Guru Granth Sahib, we had 10 living gurus, and we view the Sikh Guru Granth Sahib as the 11th guru. It's a living book. There will be no human guru further. There's this connection and relationship with the scripture. And the 37th pari, or verse, which begins Kadam Kand Ki Bani Jor, kept coming. And I was like, oh, I'm supposed to chant this, Kadam Kand. And it speaks of this ecstatic, heavenly, humanly experience. And then shortly thereafter, this little being that identified themselves as Kadam began communication with me in meditation. And I discovered this was a spirit baby making communication. Because I've worked with spirit baby conceptually. My wife had this experience with a Kalkar speaking to her. And I've assisted clients in communication with spirit babies over the years as well. And so she made this communication with me about wanting to come through in this lifetime into our family. And so lo and behold, now she's here, 3.5 years old. So that...
and she is an ecstatic dance, in my experience.
Yes.
Yeah, full of joy.
Yes.
Yeah, what a lovely... Thanks for that.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
I love just the confluence, right, of, Akal and Anasara, and then you. And
yes.
And
Yeah,
lovely. I want to know I know you mentioned your personal practice, and I wonder if you would give us just sort of a sneak into, like sneak peek, that's the word I'm looking for, into your daily life and your meditation practice, perhaps what it looks like now, and maybe how it's changed over time. I know for me, mine feels different with young children than it did prior to.
Yes. Yeah. It definitely looks different with 2 young children. Kadamkar, the one we were just talking about, is typically home with me during the day. She did start preschool this past year, 3 days a week. Okay. But yeah, often my morning meditation practice includes her, and includes the dog. So yes, and yes, I do prioritize taking time in the healing cottage, which is on my property, so I can be in there away from the physical home for my own time. Yeah, so it has, part of my journey has been, and continues to be, literally continues to be, to this moment, to simplify, to be more than do, and to let go. So I talked a little earlier about sequential practice in Kundalini Yoga. And Kundalini Yoga and Sikhi have quite disciplined practices that work for a lot of people. Do this meditation for 40 days. Do this one for 100 days. Do this one 62 minutes a day for 1,000 days. Awaken, arise during the Amrit Vela. 3-4 a.m.
Got it.
When the world is quiet, when that time between day and night is ripest, rise and devote that portion of your day to yourself and connecting with the divine. Spend those 2.5 hours in practice. And that, for me, at times, has felt pressurized. Has felt, wow, how am I fitting this in? Personal judgment on, I'm in a 40-day sadhana. I'm on day 14, fell asleep during meditation. So now I have to restart and do another 40 days. So, those pieces, as someone who has a history of workaholism, overdoing, producing. So that's been something to contend with.
And the being a householder, right? Like it's a very different experience than being devoted simply to the practice.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And you bring up a great point. As Kundalini yogis, we are householders. So we are to work in the world, if we're called to have families and cozy homes, and simultaneously, right?
Have a depth of practice.
Yes. So for me, the simplification, the continual striving to bring mindful awareness to my life, the expanded awareness, the meditative awareness, and then slip off, and then bring myself back again and again. That has been the greater evolution in more recent years.
Well, and what I'm hearing in there, right, is this practice of a lifetime, right? That it is not just we do it now for a set period of time and then we're enlightened and we stop, right? It is, a practice to support the entirety of your lifetime, right? And I think it's interesting to consider how that adapts and changes as we have different milestones and are on different journeys, right, in our lives.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you would lead us through a short meditation, bearing in mind that some of our folks might be commuting or, making dinner. Is there something that you could lead us through where folks could keep the eyes open and not need to move if they're in a place where they are unable to do that?
Sure. And I did bring a little script with me.
Great.
So this Kundalini Yoga meditation is called Meditation to Experience the Expanded Self. It is in essence a guided visualization meditation. So if folks are occupied with another activity, they can listen, still do what they're doing, and, maybe see what comes up with a little less focus. But folks that, are someplace where they can sit comfortably, relax their hands, however, if they can close their eyes. Yeah, great. Please model.
I feel a little weird because people are watching me on video, but it's cool.
And folks who want to do it with eyes closed, relaxed, can come back to this portion later.
Yeah.
So take a moment to go internal. Focus on the breath, just the natural flow of the breath. Nothing to do or shift, just be in awareness of the self and the breath. Imagine you are on a mountain and you are looking down at the town or city that you live in. Understand that what you are seeing is really inside of you. Imagine what size your head must be to contain all of what you're seeing. And think of how much it can contain, how much you can contain, how much you are. Now go up in the air until you can look at the entire country, the entire land, the entire landscape from that broader view of where you reside. Continue going beyond this and see the entire earth. Understand that the entire planet is in your head. Expand further and see the solar system. Then see the entire universe. Become the entire universe, but still be in your body. Feel the vast amounts of energy flowing through the body, or just be in the awareness. Invite yourself to expand the little I of individual into the big I of infinity. go beyond time and space and try to grab or connect, see or feel infinity. Just breathe into, expand into the vastness of yourself. In this vastness, see the light of all you are. It's a glittering, simple, soft light. Now imagine that this glittering, soft, beautiful light is in the center of your head. The top of your head. Focus on it. That is where the pineal gland is located. It is a most precious gem which has been placed there. By Creator, by evolution, by God, whatever resonates for you. Just breathe into the awareness of that light contained within you, within your being, your body. See nothing but light. It is warm. It is in your head, but it is also as big as the cosmos. Understand, I am. I am. Inviting yourself to take one final breath. When you feel ready to do so, you can wiggle the fingers, allow the eyes to gently blink open if they have been closed.
Thank you for that.
You are welcome.
Very spacious. What came to me was the Rumi quote from Beloved. Do you know this one?
No, tell me.
You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a single drop.
Yeah.
I just really, I've been sitting with that lately because I think there's, I'll call them, I'm sure there are more than two schools of thought, but I'll call them two schools of thought, right? This sort of like, we're just a insignificant little speck spinning on a giant, right? And then also this, I prefer this other sort of school of thought about like we contain multitudes, and for me that is the relationship to the divine. Yeah. And so just sitting with that perspective and feeling grateful that you brought us that expanded awareness today. Yeah. So we are close to our final question. Typically before I ask it, I like to just check in and see if there's anything that I haven't asked that you want to share, anything that's come up that you want to extrapolate on before we close things out.
No, I feel complete.
Great. So my final question is, what is your vision for a radical life?
Yeah. So for me, the concept of radical and this radical experience of being is connecting with the essence of self, the Sat Nam, truth of one's identity, and how being in the truth of the essence can also coexist with making fundamental changes to the nature of either things that have gotten in the way of connection with and awareness of our fundamental nature, and also expanding truth from one's being into one's life in all aspects of one's life.
Yeah.
And what shifts someone is called to make in the fundamental nature of how their day works, how their life works, etc.
Yeah.
So
Whose liberation you're looking for.
Yeah. So for me personally, a radical life for me is being in a physical, high vibration location, environment, wellness in all aspects, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic, for myself, my family, my loved ones, and being engaged in meaningful life's work. So that's my vision of a radical life for me.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. And it's been a treat, one, to talk with you, but two, to get to be here in person again for a few more days.
Yes.
What a delight for me that we get to do that.
Me too. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. Head over to our website at radical.life to sign up for your free Radical Life Starter Kit. Our website is radikal.life. The Radical Life podcast is produced by me, Marina Patrice Vare, and edited by Cassidy Vare. Our theme music was created by Mark Measy. Radical Life is a co-creation with Manjot Singh Khalsa and Radikal Healing. Connect with us on social media, Radical with a K. We're on Instagram at radical_life_22 and Facebook at Radical Life.